Inception was a mind-blowing movie that holds up almost 15 years later. And it's all because of a brilliant idea, right? Wrong.
I have a great idea. So do all these idiots. Can you execute it?
You hear it all the time, idea versus execution. But what does that mean? Inception started with a brilliant idea, a brilliant what if. What if someone had the technology to enter someone else's dream? That's a fantastic idea and a hell of a premise for a movie. But there were a million possible ways to turn that idea into a story, most of which probably weren't that good. There have been many dream-based movies, and I'm willing to bet many, many more scripts sit in slush piles. They had the idea, but not the execution. To illustrate how Christopher Nolan turned that spark of an idea into a screenplay for Inception, I'm going to reverse engineer his thought process and show just how many levels he was working on. But first, I'm going to take you through a movie with the same idea as Inception that you probably didn't see, a movie called Dreamscape. You've probably never even heard of Dreamscape unless you were a 14-year-old boy in the summer of '84. It's largely forgotten today, but I remember liking it as a kid. I'm not saying you should run out and find it. It's dated with cheesy 80s special effects and a synthy soundtrack, but it had the same what if as Inception. Let's peek into the writers' minds and see how they executed that idea, then compare it to what Christopher Nolan did. Once they came up with the what if we could enter someone else's dreams idea, they needed to ask, what would the ramifications of that technology be? And they need to establish the rules of that world. They came up with the rule of if someone dies in their dream, they die in real life. Okay, that sets up a pretty good premise for an action movie. Bad guys kill people in their dreams and it looks like natural causes. That's a good hook. But who is the target? Well, you got to up the stakes, so they make the target the President of the United States. And to make the bad guys extra bad, they set it up that they wanted to kill him because he's going soft on nuclear weapons, because he's been having dreams of nuclear war, and the bad guys profit from nuclear weapons and don't want annoying things like world peace getting in their way. So they want to kill the president by getting one of their dreamscapers to enter his dream, kill him, and the world will never know. Boom! There's your villain's evil plan. Now all you need is a hero to thwart it. Dennis Quaid's character is set up as a 2-bit hustler with ESP who uses his talents to pull small cons. This is kind of the Han Solo style character who starts out a little questionable but turns heroic in the end. Good. We see him get sucked into the dream lab by an old colleague who knew he'd have the skill because of his ESP. We use this as our entry point into the world, learn the rules, set up a romance, we see him get better at dreamscaping, and he also starts to pick up some clues leading him to the bad guy's evil plan. He and his nemesis both enter the president's dream, and he proves victorious using some of the skills he learned earlier in the movie. All in all, this is pretty solid writing, a good idea fleshed out to a story with a beginning, middle, and end with good character arcs. If this were music, it would be a song in 4/4 time that goes verse, chorus, verse, and never changes keys, like most songs. But Christopher Nolan does not write songs in 4/4 time that go verse, chorus, verse. He writes prog rock epics like Dark Side of the Friggin' Moon, a complex work with a grand unifying theme that goes seamlessly into and out of odd time signatures, yet still resonates with a wide audience. A lot of people have the misconception that writers start with the beginning, then think of what comes next, then what comes after that, and so on and so on. Well, that's not how most writers work. They get an idea and flesh it out layer by layer. This is Michelangelo's David. The hallway leading up to it is filled with unfinished Michelangelo statues. This is a great peek into how he worked. He didn't start with the feet and work his way up. He chiseled away, little by little, adding more and more detail to each part as he went. That is also how the best movies and books are written. So Christopher Nolan started with the idea of the shared dream world and chiseled away little by little, fine-tuning his masterpiece. And writing this movie was no easy feat. He spent years working on it, mainly during the time he was making the Dark Knight movies. While Dreamscape laid out a good but standard action plot, Nolan made a much more complex and layered story. He kept thinking about what the ramifications of having a technology where multiple people could enter someone's dream. He wanted this to be a heist film and thought of the idea of stealing people's secrets in their dreams. The logical conclusion of this idea is that there would be people who were good at stealing information and others who specialized in preventing them from doing this.
Because I am the most skilled extractor.
This in and of itself could have been a really good movie. Imagine a movie called Dream Heist, where the world's greatest dream stealer must enter the mind of a man with the greatest team of dream security ever assembled. And the big twist could be that in the last scene we realize they're actually in a dream within a dream. Well, that could have been great, but since this is Christopher Nolan, great isn't good enough. So the dream thief in a dream within a dream is how he opens this movie. When his opening sequence has a twist most others would have spent the whole movie building to, we know this movie is going to be a hell of a ride. So, to go beyond the very good premise of a dream heist, he dug deeper and came up with the idea of Inception. The idea of not stealing ideas from someone, but planting an idea in someone's subconscious and making them think it was their idea. So let's take a breath and see what's already happened with this development. The idea of you could enter someone's dreams in the movie Dreamscape became a sci-fi fantasy assassination attempt thwarted by a better dream navigator, which is good. The opening sequence of Inception is an attempted dream heist thwarted by a better dream navigator, which is better. But the idea of a team trying to incept someone is better still. Now we open up philosophical questions as to the nature of reality and what makes us us. Let's look at how Christopher Nolan developed that idea even further. If the plan is to infiltrate someone's mind to plant an idea, what matters is who that person is. You've heard me say it before, character and story are intertwined, and this is a fantastic example. They have to develop Cillian Murphy's character.
And it's pronounced Cillian.
Cillian Murphy's character. Most notably, the relationship between he and his father. It has to be a very complicated relationship. His father was a mega-rich, mega-successful man who never gave him the time, love, or respect he wanted. The team's goal is to get him to split up his father's company and make him think it was his idea. The team has to navigate the maze of another man's mind. Essentially, Cillian Murphy's character's mind is a puzzle they have to crack. In any good heist movie, things should go wrong, so the team is forced to adjust. And things start to go wrong as soon as they enter his dream, when they realize his subconscious has been trained to prepare for this. They have to change plans on the fly using their wits and all their skill. They dive deep down to the deepest level of his psyche to make him believe that splitting up his father's company will ultimately lead to the love and approval he sought his whole life. Now, if this were all Inception did, it would still have been a great movie. If Leonardo DiCaprio's character was like Danny Ocean from Ocean's 11, unflappable and able to think on his feet, Inception could have had the dream heist open, the putting together the team, the learning the rules scenes with Ariadne, then the team going into Cillian Murphy's dream, things go wrong, the team improvises and accomplishes their mission. Boom, kick-ass movie. But Leonardo DiCaprio's character is nothing like Danny Ocean. And this is where Inception goes from being great to being a masterpiece. In the book, The Hero's Two Journeys by Michael Haig and Christopher Vogler, they describe a story as having a protagonist who goes on two journeys. The first being the physical journey, the solving of the mission, but the second is the emotional journey where the character grows and changes. I've seen others describe it as the lie the character believes. They cling to a lie that has always held them back, and over the course of the story, they come to realize it's a lie and have to accept the truth. Others describe it as a flaw the protagonist overcomes. Pixar was great at this. Think of Marlin in Finding Nemo, who needed to learn that being a good father meant learning to let go.
Time to let go!
In The Incredibles, Mr. Incredible learns that true strength means knowing when to ask for help.
I'm not strong enough.
Strong enough, and this will make you stronger?
Yes. No.
That's what this is? Some sort of workout?
I can't lose you again.
Another way of thinking about this hero's second journey is healing a trauma. DiCaprio's character went through a trauma that was crucial to the plot. In fact, the cause of his trauma is what set the plot in motion. He and his wife, Mal, spent time in a dream within a dream within a dream, which lasted many years at the final layer. They started to blur their reality with the dream world. He had to plant the idea in Mal's mind that they needed to die within the dream to snap out of it, thus inventing Inception. However, when they returned to the real world, she still couldn't distinguish dream from reality. She decided that they must both jump to their deaths to wake from the dream world, leaving him to choose to either join her or be falsely accused of her murder. When he refused to jump, he was forced to flee the country and hide. He's a man on the run, unable to see his own children, and on top of that, whenever he enters the dream world, the image of Mal keeps haunting him, making him unable to work as an effective dream architect. He is so desperate when he's offered the job, he has no choice but to take it. This ups the stakes of the plan. If they don't succeed before they land, he's arrested for murder. When they're in the dream world, Mal gives them the ultimate complication. It also makes Ariane a much more important character. I've seen people critique Ariane because all she does is ask questions. Well, yeah, she does. She's the audience surrogate, and she's useful to get information out. And true, the scenes with her are info dumps, but they're incredibly cinematic, mind-blowing info dumps. And this movie needed to be explained. And sure, she asks a lot of questions, but they're questions that needed to be asked. But by letting Ariane in on Cobb's secret, she becomes a much more useful character. Remember my video on creating useful characters? Well, having her be the one who knows the truth about Cobb's past and about Mal, she becomes very useful. Essentially, he's her mentor on the first journey, and she's his mentor on his healing journey. So while the team has to traverse the maze of Cillian Murphy's character's mind, DiCaprio's character also has to traverse the maze of his own mind to ultimately heal his own trauma.
It also is this therapy session for the main character Cobb. As he goes deeper and deeper into the dream state, he comes closer and closer to the things that haunt him. It is this cathartic journey that he goes on to come to grips with what has been plaguing him.
The movie ends when both missions end in success. I'd say this movie is some next level stuff, but it's actually the level after the next level stuff. Now, if you're a writer, does everything you write have to be as complicated as Christopher Nolan? Hell no. If you aim for that, you'll never get anything done. Using the music analogy again, Christopher Nolan is Radiohead or late 70s Rush or the Mars Volta. They function on a level most musicians simply can't, but that's okay. The world needs AC/DC too. But even if you want to write something straightforward and standard, it's good to study Christopher Nolan. It's like learning some jazz chords you may never use. In fact, if you do end up writing professionally, you'll probably have to dumb it down anyway, because very few people get the chance to make their Inception. Just take the job, take the money, and work on your complex novel on the side.